Hello, friends. Welcome to From Misfit to Mystic. This is your host, Lisa LaJoie. Very excited to have you with me today. I have an extra special guest. We met not long ago at a weekend collaboration to create an event with my dear friend Amanda O'Reilly, who's created an event called Shine for women entrepreneurs and leaders who want to have transformation so they become more in the flow with their true self and their true potential as business leaders. That's happening in September. And Brenda and I met for the first time and just hit it off like two peas in a pod. So I decided she would be a wonderful guest for the show. And I want to tell you a little bit about her before I introduce her and get on with the show. Let me read to you a little bit about Brenda Johnston. It's time to get honest about what you want in life, to stop playing small and hiding because of what you were taught to believe about money and success. After being chained to the same corporate job for close to 14 years and living with debt most of her adult life, Brenda decided it was time to stop playing small. She changed her relationship with money and success and finally turned her passion into profit. As a high-performance coach, Brenda uses tools such as NLP and hypnosis to help people transform on a subconscious level. I couldn't be more excited to have her on today's show to talk about these subjects and to help you learn to stop sacrificing yourself and actually step into more of your abundance and the powerful you that you are meant to be. Brenda, welcome to From Misfit to Mystic.
Hey, what's up? I'm like so excited to be here.
I'm so excited that you're here because you're one of my favorite now misfits that I know. So Brenda and I, for the audience to understand how we met, we're going to be involved in an event together with my dear friend Amanda O'Reilly. And we met was it last weekend?
Yeah, like in real life we met last weekend.
In real life we met. We had a really amazing time. And I just thought you would be such a great person to be on the show. And, here we go. Rock and roll, girl.
I love it.
Listen, we had such a nice time when we were together. And I just realized how amazing you are and how you're opening up and flowering. And I'm just really wanting to talk about how you've landed where you are today in this powerful position of helping other people and being of service to their heart and their soul. And maybe you can share a little bit about how you ended up in this place where you are right now, and we'll see where we go.
I feel like my story kind of really ties into the whole misfit thing because it's a little convoluted. So I'm going to short form it. So years ago, I was 300 pounds. I had gone through a transformation. I lost 145 pounds. I was personal training with people. I was doing nutritional therapy. And they were getting results, just like I had gotten results. But they weren't like keeping them. And I always saw these blocks coming up with people and these beliefs. So I became really obsessed with the human mind. And so I started studying NLP and I started studying hypnosis and I started doing that with people. But then the whole story shifts because the other thing that started to happen was people started coming to me for me to help them get over like their money mindset issues. And it's because I had my own, am I allowed to swear on here?
Fuck yeah.
Okay. I had my own really shitty, like fucked up relationship with money my whole entire life. So I'm going to be 45 this year. And I would say until I was about 43, I was constantly living in debt. I had a corporate job that I was afraid to leave because, as adults, we're taught, go get a corporate job, make sure you have benefits, stay where you are, keep your head down, don't talk, just get paid. So the belief I had was that I just had to go work in this place that honestly felt like my soul was being sucked out of me every day. And at my core, I knew I was supposed to be helping people on a deeper level. So when I started talking about how I had shifted my relationship with money and how I completely changed my beliefs around it and how I started to make way more money than I was making working in corporate. I was making more money doing my side hustle. I had to say that
What?
So, but it's true. And so I started to recognize, I was like, oh, interesting. So by actually stepping into who I am as a person, by actually being able to help people transform, by making a bigger impact, then more money comes. Because it's not even about making the money. It's about making an impact on the world.
Yeah, and it's also about just being happy, right? And
Oh,
feeling
fuck
like
yeah.
you're living in a way that is in alignment with your own heart and soul, which I find so interesting. So I just wanted to go back on what you said about working in corporate, because I did that too. And I did it for exactly, like, we have a parallel story. I
Yeah.
did it for exactly the same reason. And then I was basically, you know, forced by the universe out of the position, like literally, like, you listen, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And we have such a beautiful parallel story.
Yeah,
Honestly,
it's
I was
cool.
doing, I think I was teaching spirituality in a C-ship and in the university, and I was doing all this stuff on the side, and it was like I was miserable, like miserable, but I had this belief, right? And this is what I
Mm-hmm.
think one of your masteries really are understanding how beliefs will break you down, you know. And that's what you're saying here is like, you know, it broke you down. So I want to know about your transformation. Like, what made you shift? Like, what happened inside you? Because I know what happened for me. It was total pain, and also the push. Like, I just felt this pressure behind me going, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And this like misery rising, and these things were happening around me that made it so clear that I was just doing the wrong thing. You know what I mean?
You
I
know
was just
what's so interesting? Nobody's ever asked me that question.
mm,
I've never thought about what the the thing was, because it was last year. I had hired business coaches to help me structure the business because I had a 10-year side hustle, hobby, whatever you want to call it. And so I hired business coaches because I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here. Like, I need to go. It was
mm,
pain. Like, I would go in there every day, and the moment I walked through the doors, my whole energy just shifted. And I would pick up on other people's shit and misery and
right.
think it was my own, which
Mm,
I understand now that it wasn't. Um, and in January, I was just like, I'm leaving in October. And there was no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, it was like, I'm fucking leaving in October. So, hey, let's just do this. I had no idea what the business was going to look like. I had no idea what anything was. I just had this feeling inside of me that was just like, it's time to go. Like, you need to go now. Because the more I stayed there, the more I felt like it literally felt like a piece of my soul was being sucked out of me. Like, that's the
right.
only way I can explain it.
Yeah. Doesn't it feel like
It was
somebody's
painful.
put a pin in you, and you're like a balloon, and it's just like slowly but surely, like your own energy field is getting ripped
Yeah.
away.
And
Yeah.
like, I would
That's
just
how
go
I
in,
felt
and
too.
you know what? I'm so grateful that I had the position to be able to build my business as I was doing this. I'm so grateful for some of the people that were there. But I just, in the last like couple of years of being in there, I was just watching the misery.
Hmm.
It's the only way I can explain it. And
Yeah.
I remember just laughing inside and being like, I'm not supposed to be here. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I actually have she's a very good friend now, but I went to her for acupuncture, but she's also a light worker, which I didn't know at the time. And it was funny because when I was with her, after my session, and we had never met, she looks at me and she's like, you know, you're not supposed to be there anymore, right?
Reflection. Hear your
And
own
I
voice.
know, I
I
just
hear
looked
you.
at her and I was like, I knew it. I knew you were different.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I know, but I need to figure that shit out, because you have to get past the fear too, right? What if this doesn't work? What if I don't make money? Because everybody else gets in your head. They fill your head with all these stupid stories.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even have beliefs. We have beliefs of other people.
Mm-hmm.
Everything we've learned, we're born as like empty vessels.
Right.
All of our shit comes from other people,
Right.
literally.
What's interesting for me is in the work that I've been doing and over my own experiences, there's something that never leaves though, right? And that spirit that lives inside. You know, yeah, you go down the road and you end up doing all these other things because of what people taught you and their paradigms and their social paradigms. And then there's this and your parents and your this and your experiences and your that. And, it
Yeah.
goes on. And then all of a sudden you're not filled with yourself anymore. But the spirit never leaves.
Yeah, and
And
I feel like
so it
that's
may whisper, you know.
yeah, it's that thing that's inside of you that most people don't listen to.
That's it, you know, but it never leaves. And the love that is from this place, which is what I love that about you, what you're talking about in your story, is that there was a part of me, and I call it your own spirit, your own soul, saying, no, Brenda, no, this isn't it. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to let you go. And I'm not going to let you off the hook. And I'm going to bug you and bug you and bug you until you're so uncomfortable that you listen to me. And it probably started as a whisper
Yeah,
and
it was a whisper.
and louder and louder as you, every time you say what to that spiritual side of yourself, it went louder. And every time we say, what is that discomfort? It gets louder until we finally hear. Because that's what I know a little bit about you too, but that's what I hear you saying, which is absolutely powerful and transformative. So I want to know this because I think people need to understand how you gave yourself permission. Was it just through the pain, or was it, what happened? How did you give yourself that permission to go, nope, you know what? I'm going to listen.
It was a couple things. So yeah, it was through the pain. I was just like, I'm done with this. Like I'm done being miserable. But I could also see,
But
and
let's
this
wait a minute. Did you guys hear that? Wait, let's like breathe that in for a minute, right? Say it again. Say it one more time.
that I was done being miserable.
Okay, anybody who's miserable right now, that is the statement. That is the choice. That's the beginning.
Yeah, because
Right?
we get to choose. Like I knew this. I was like, every second of every day we get to choose how we want to feel. And I had been choosing every day to be miserable.
Right?
I had been choosing to go and be gossipy with people, to go and play the compare-nitis game, to go
Amazing.
be addicted to drama, because human beings are addicted to drama. It's how we bond.
Yeah, you know why? This is my honest opinion about it. We are
Sucks.
addicted to drama because we need so much like disruption to not listen to the light that we have inside, which is way more powerful, right? How
Oh,
much do you have to do to distract your own light, right?
100%. And I recognize that now. And like, and we'll get into this, but part of my journey has also been a very spiritual one. And that's been a piece of me my whole life, but I ignored it until pretty much 2 years ago. So, and when you start to listen to the voice, the teachers start coming. So like my acupuncture friend who's a light worker, and then she started introducing me to things, and then like you come into my life, like things just start to happen. And it's funny because you're talking about the universe kicking you in the ass. And I have to tell you the story because it's really funny.
I love it.
About four months into me going, I'm like, I got to get out of here, but I still hadn't really made any plans. I kept falling down. And I know that sounds really weird.
No, it's not weird to me because hello.
Yeah. So they weren't graceful falling down. So one day I was taking the recycling out and it was pouring rain and it was before the gym. And I don't know what the fuck happened, but I fell into a mud puddle on my front yard. The recycling goes flying everywhere. I'm covered in mud. I'm soaking wet. And I'm like, what the fuck? So that's one. So then I'm walking down the stairs and I don't know what happens. I lose my footing and I fall down the stairs. Like I'm fine, but I fell 3 or 4 times. And so I went to see my friend Danielle, who's my light worker friend. And I was like, can you check to make sure that like my ears or something is not messed up? Because I keep falling down. And she starts laughing hysterically. And I'm like, what is so funny? She's like, you're falling down because you're not listening and the universe is literally kicking you in the ass. She said, when you start to listen, you'll stop falling down.
Like the universe is tripping you up.
Yeah. And I was like, are you, what? And I shit you not, that the day I said, okay, I'm done. I'm done being miserable. I stopped falling down.
Hello.
Yeah. So let me tell you, people, if you don't listen, the universe is just going to push you into mud puddles. That's what happens.
But you know, whatever it takes, right? Whatever it takes to help us wake up. But I find that so fun. That's such a fun story and such a true story. You know what I mean?
It is, though.
So,
I was like,
what do we know, right? What happened is I didn't listen the first time. I wasn't able to hear. The second time I started to pay attention to like what was going on. And then I still wasn't sure about it. So I started falling in the mud, you know, like my body got on board. So now everything is in alignment to get me to go, hey, how about you look at this and realize you're so much more than what you're doing, right? What a beautiful,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's interesting too, because like the people that I attract into me are also on these spiritual journeys. But for a really long time, I was like, oh, do I talk about this stuff? Like, this is weird. But I could see that they needed my help too. So it's been a very interesting, and it continues to grow and shift. And I mean, that's why I'm working with you now. So I can help people transform on a deeper level spiritually as well. But yeah, it's
This world is very confusing, honestly. The spiritual world can be really like dynamic and very confusing. And, you know, like the thing I love about the story you're sharing and this conversation is around, it begins with you just listening to something inside saying that you're not happy, that you're not in the right place. Like that's the beginning point is I'm hearing something, even if I'm not listening, but something is rising saying, no, you know, your misery is a message, you know?
Yeah.
You know,
And
like I love that. The mess is the message too, but the misery is also a messenger. It's trying to, like, our feelings are trying to tell us, right? So tell me about this. So what happened after that? You got curious about what?
so I've always been in touch with my grandmother. She's dead. She's been dead since I was 4. But I, like my whole entire life, I would sense her, I would smell her, I would hear her walking around in the house, whatever. And so I could sense people who had passed. But because in this world, people are like, oh, you're just imagining things, I just ignored that.
Oh
I
yeah.
have a very strong intuition. Like I'll know things about people without them telling me. But in my head, I was always like, oh, you're imagining that. Like you're imagining it. Because that's where we go, right? We tell
Of
ourselves
course.
that we're crazy.
Yeah.
And it's funny because after I was falling in the mud a lot, and I just remembered this, my grandmother actually came, and she was with me, like I could smell her because I was sitting and I was like, is this going to work? Like, give me a sign. I need to see something. And she showed up. So I could smell lilies. That's what I smell when she's around. And I was like, okay, so I'm supposed to do this. And I could, as clients started to come, I could like almost, and you explained to me what was happening. It was like I was going inside of them, not purposely, because I didn't even know that that's what I was doing, and getting information and scanning things, which I've since learned is very bad for my physical body because I need to do it a different way.
It is, but it's a powerful gift that many beautiful people have, like yourself, who just aren't sure what's going on, you know?
Yeah, and it's crazy because you literally sit there and think that you're crazy. And then I started having like voices in my head, yeah, right? I would get voices, I would see pictures, I would get words written in my head, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now? And so I understand now, like those were my guides communicating to me. I had never seen them until the one that showed up last weekend, which we can talk about. But like, it's just a really weird. And as soon as I left corporate, like I've always had this stuff happening to me. But as soon as I left corporate, it became 100% more apparent what was going on. And things started to just open up at light speed.
Yep.
And I was just like, like crazy stuff is happening. Like I don't actually know. And so I'm so grateful that I had my good friend Danielle. And like, I'm so grateful that you've come into my life because like, you can honestly think you're going nuts.
Yeah, for sure. And there are lots of powerful people. You know, what's interesting is I know you work with the brain and that's very important to you, but you know, one thing that's critical for anybody who works with the brain, you have to accept that there's an intuitive part of the brain. You can't pretend it's not. You can't activate your brain power, open your belief systems, look at the subconscious and not understand. Like we talked about this a lot, like what I've learned over the years of my studies. And it's not because I've been studying specific things, it's because I can see it, like literally, like my channeling ability is like a bit through the roof at times. And I'm like, wow, we have a subconscious, a super subconscious, with this, with that. And you can see it and feel it and experience it. And that's what is happening. That's the story you're sharing with us, is saying, this is what started happening to me when I said yes to myself. Immediately, another aspect of myself came forward to show me that I had these gifts that are there to serve me, to serve the world, to serve my clients, to serve the work. And it's undeniable. And what I was going to say before, what you were talking, is like, the best part is when you get these premonitions, these insights, these little clues, these messages, and they're true.
Yeah.
Like, even
like
though
people validate stuff for you, and
you're like, but it's true. This happened. They said, yes, that's in alignment. And I knew nothing about this person, but I got this message in my work while I was helping them. Then you're like, uh-oh, very scary. You know what I mean? But so powerful once you know how to navigate your gifts, which I know is what you're doing in your work, which I think is just beautiful. We've talked a lot about what you're doing because of Shine. We talked a lot about how we would work together and how powerful you are as a person. You know what I mean? Which I think is really important to talk about unapologetically, and really just say, like, I am gifted, and you didn't need my approval or anyone's approval.
The validation from you also
Validation is it. But that's the thing, right? The validation brings this feeling of, okay, I'm not alone, which is, soul tribe experience, which is, really understanding like what's really valuable from the beginning of our conversation, even till this point, is like, you understand that sharing truth brings something to people that is so powerful and empowering to them, that I think that's part of why you're doing what you're doing today.
But it's also cool too, because as I was like working with clients and I started hearing voices in my head, I would hear things, and literally sometimes I would hear, you just need to say this. And I can feel the people that I'm safe to say things with.
Yeah.
I'll explain it.
Yeah.
And so I'd be working with them and I would just be like, okay, so I don't know if this is going to make any sense to you, but blah, 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 blah. And either they'd break down in tears, or they'd be like, oh my God, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But I also feel like it's so important, and part of my mission is to help other people step into this, because most of us think we're going crazy.
Yep. It's a very lonely feeling. It's a lonely feeling and it makes us feel out of place. I've lived with that my whole life. I love that you're sharing it, because we're the same. And there's many people going through that who would never dare tell anybody. And they really feel like, I felt crazy when I was a kid. Believe me, like I could see at that time, I could see everything. I had premonitions simultaneously, seeing dead people. I was haunted. I was like, I could feel my parents. I could feel, which is one of the key things that I love talking about. And I'm sure we're going to talk about this in a very powerful way. I could feel what they needed.
Yeah.
I could feel what my abusers needed. And because I could see it, I thought I should fix it.
Yeah.
And powerful empaths who are helpers and of service, that's what we end up doing. We end up taking on people's most horrible energy, thinking, oh, I should do that, until we learn powerfully how to step into being of service to the helping, versus thinking it's ours to fix because we can see it, and then taking responsibility.
Not even realizing that as an empath, I was taking stuff on without even realizing I was taking it on.
Yeah. Right?
Like, that's pretty messed up.
It's dangerous, and that's why it's so important this conversation we're having, and how important
I also feel like this conversation is really important, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I watch social media and I see these people out there, and I see all these people like, open up your chakras and do this with your energy and do that. Like, fuck, if you don't know actually what you're doing, to me, that is dangerous.
It is dangerous.
Like, connect with higher self, do this. I think that's all great. I think everybody should be able to do stuff like that. But I also feel like it's like a nutritionist, or like somebody who's not a nutritionist giving out nutritional advice to people.
100%. And who has no information, or doesn't do an evaluation of the person's health or well-being, and they just say, well, eat that. I've seen that over the years, and don't get mad at me, vegetarians, but I've seen people get sick from going and not eating meat anymore because they need it, or getting the resources they need to replenish because they are carnivores and they're saying, I don't want to be one anymore, which I
Yeah.
understand for personal reasons. But anything like that, if you're not educated, if you don't know the right process, if you're not sure where you're leading yourself, because you don't have a clue what you're doing, especially energy circuits, as you know, just from your experience.
Yeah.
I'm an empath. I'm just trying to help people, but I'm actually endangering my physical body because I'm not even sure how to protect my own vibrational frequency. I'm taking on their stuff without knowing, just that alone. We
Yeah.
talked about that being toxic for you. And, knowing how to work with your gift and also contain your own vibration, it's very important. It takes practice, it takes discipline, but it's very true. Like part of my work, I mean, it drives me crazy a little bit. I'm in this for a long time, a bunch of decades now. And I'm watching people like, la, 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 look at that, la, 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 look at that. And they're causing harm because I've
Yeah.
seen people short circuit their vibrational energy. I've seen them short circuit their chakra system. I've seen them, they think they're talking to higher self. They have no idea where they are. They're just open to the ethers of anything, which opens them up to any energy at all. It's like, that's what it is. Same like opening yourself up to other people's vibration and thinking we're responsible to take it on. It's dangerous because you're in that container,
And also, like, I've come to learn that all energy is not good energy. Like, I've experienced
100%.
some really bad energy.
100%. And it's lethal, literally.
Yeah.
It literally, I mean, that sometimes that dark energy from others, they're more than happy to dump their shit on you
Yeah.
because they don't want it. You know what I mean? And some people are, doing it intentionally and some people don't mean it. Like clients don't mean to throw their stuff on us, but they will because they don't want it anymore. You know what I mean?
Here, you take this.
You can handle it. So, right?
Yeah. Well, and with me, and I mean, we talked about this. So I have put on 60 pounds since I've started working with clients, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And this is how we reworded it. I was like, everything I do to take the weight off, it's not coming off. Like, weight just keeps going on. Like, I don't even know what's going on. And so you and I had this conversation. You're like, you're asking the wrong question. It's not what's wrong with you. It's what's going on with you. Exactly. And this is what's going on with you. You're taking other people's shit in. And so your soul is making your body expand to protect you.
Your body will naturally try to protect you. Right. Yeah. Because your body too will naturally, you see, your soul doesn't, like, they have a relationship. So every cell in your body, which is part of the teaching you're going to learn, which is so fun, knows exactly what your soul is doing. So when your soul is like trying to reach you or connect with you, your body has its own infinite wisdom inside and will try to support the learning, education, the path. So if you're in danger, your body's going to try to protect you because you're not filled with your soul energy. You're starting to fill yourself up with everybody else's vibration. So your body will be like, no, and will start creating the extra resources to create space between your inner body, your organs, and your outer field. And like fat is a way to block it because your inner organs need to be only filled with your frequency, not someone else's. So you're being loved.
Yeah, which was so cool. Right? Like when we put that perspective on it, and I was just like, I was like, man, you're really smart.
It changed everything, right? Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, it's cool.
Which I like, this leads me to talk about the work that you're doing, because I really love this work. And first of all, I'm really, really excited that you vulnerably just opened the door to that conversation with yourself. I think it's so important to share the message of truth and to be able to just claim it and say, listen, this is what happened to me. And I'm saying you're a powerful empath. And those gifts that you have need to be honored, respected, and have the right kind of platform for you to feel comfortable and safe. It's very important that you use them without hurting and causing harm to self. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a very powerful message, and you're doing it. Like right away, you're taking action. Boom. Okay, let's go. And you were so easy for me to help because you're just like, no, I'm open to whatever needs to be done to help me. But the pain that you experienced, if I can talk about it.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, we had lots of cry fest that weekend too. And that's important for people to know, like, you might be in pain because you're carrying all kinds of other people's pain and it's not even yours.
Yeah.
And once you understand and honor your body and love your body and turn inward and say, oh, you know what, maybe I'm too open. Maybe I'm carrying my husband's shit, my children's shit, my client's shit, and it's hurting you. Oh, I didn't know. That rewires everything instantly, right?
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because a lot of my clients that I end up seeing, they'll come and they'll have these feelings of anxiety or whatever. And I look at them, I'm like, that's not even yours.
Exactly.
But now I understand what's been happening is I'm helping them clear it, but I'm taking it.
Yeah. And now
So,
you're gonna work way more powerfully with the things that you're gonna learn with me. It's gonna be great. And
but
it's
like
already
even,
happening, right?
oh, like
It's already
100%.
happening. Yeah.
Like everything, even just in a week, everything has shifted so much.
So
Like,
exciting. That's how fast it happens, which leads me to your work, because I know this is part of your beautiful work that you do. So you work in hypnosis, you work with NLP, you work with shifting the mind, rewiring the brain, getting things right, getting things opened, closing things up that need to be gone. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, how do you serve the people that you work with? Tell me about.
so it's really interesting. It really depends on the person when they come, but most of the people initially come to me because they have really shitty money stories. And so they're like, help me shift out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And what starts to happen, and I always say it's like an onion, right? You peel back one layer of the onion and you realize, oh, actually, this is all tied into your worth. And this is why you're also attracting narcissists into your life. And this is why you're like, everything is related. So we just start to peel back the layers. And it's funny because I'm not interested in working with people who are just looking for surface level transformations.
No, I'm with you. I hear you.
Because like we can hack the limb off of a tree and I can do that really fast, but it's going to grow back. I want the people who want to like evolve and go deeper and change the shit down there. Now, having said that, and I've done traditional therapy, it's for some people. Knowing what I know now, I'm like, traditional therapy always had me going backwards and dwelling on the shit.
You know what I found too? Like, I went through that too. And what I found really difficult was they always made me do the work.
Yeah.
I was like, and one day I found one therapist who actually was interactive with me, and everybody else I just walked away from within weeks. I'm like, you're making me figure it out.
But also they made me feel worse about myself. So we would go back to something and you just stay talking about the same fucking thing for like however long. And I'm like, this is dumb. So when I'm working with people, I might take them backwards for a split second, but it's not about going backwards. It's actually about keeping people in the present moment. And it's about taking people out of the future, because so many people are worried about how's this going to work? What's going to happen? No, you need to be in the present moment, because it's the present moment that creates your future reality. And when you say that to people, they're like, huh.
Yeah, it's the instant shifts that really matter in the moment. It's funny too, because what I love about therapy, because I don't want to, say bad things about it in a way, because it has been an incredible, powerful tool for many people, is I love how that's opening up and flowering. Because I know quite a few therapists who come to me and they work with me actually to help them to open up, and to learn even more, so they can, they have to live by their code of ethics, but behind the scene, they're allowing their gifts to come forward and really serve the people at a different level of interaction than ever before, which I find so exciting.
Yeah.
That could be a fun training to do, right?
Well, and it's funny too, because this whole spiritual side of things, because there are some, and like every industry, there's people out there that are way over the top, weird, whatever. And so I had this fear of, okay, people are not going to take me seriously as a hypnosis person or an NLP person if I even talk about spirituality or chakras or crystals. And so I had this huge like, but again, there was that fucking voice. It's like, nope, you're supposed to be doing this. And so with my podcast, I was like, I did an empath episode and I did a crystal episode, and I was dipping my toes in like this is like my coming out party right here, because this is the most I've spoken about all of this stuff.
I love it.
And it's funny because my clients started calling me out because I would say things not even realizing that they hadn't said something.
Right.
And I would have clients look at me and go,
how'd you know that?
Are you intuitive? Do you have some other gifts? And so they would be calling me out. And I was like,
yeah. I do.
Yes.
Thank you for giving me permission. Thank you so much. Right.
But then also there's a judgment too. If I say yes to this, then what does that mean for me? So it was a really weird, like,
For sure.
it was weird.
This is like, I want to break this spell. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? For me, I just want to break the spell. It's ridiculous to be a person in the brain. And this is what I think NLP teachers and the teaching should just be. I know it's getting there. If you're in the brain, you have to talk about the intuitive portion of the brain. You can't talk about the subconscious and ignore that part.
But here's the thing.
Power gland, the pituitary gland are built based on connection.
But here's
right?
When I learned NLP and when I learned hypnosis, I learned it from this really amazing woman. But she wasn't spiritual. So I remember having a conversation with her one day and I'm like, yeah, it's like I can just feel their energy and then I kind of know which direction to go with them. And she looked at me and she was like, you don't want to be around those people. Oh. And so there in itself is a belief, right? Because I remember saying I wanted to go maybe do like a workshop at this store that I really like. That's a metaphysics store. Like you don't want to be around those people. And in my head, I was like, I am one of those fucking people. Like,
yeah, it's very interesting, right? How that those beliefs are out there. And it's, for me, a fascination that the subconscious mind is not a problem. Can you see it and feel it? Did you analyze the portion of that brain? You don't analyze it. I mean, we know there's actually scientific proof about the portions of the brain. Like the pineal gland is like the master gland of all things. Like this is like, whoa. Oh, but we're not going to talk about the depth of it. No. Okay. What about the pituitary? What about that part of you that sees without eyes?
And it's funny too, because
talk about that. Really? Oh, your subconscious. Do you know where do you know how to get in there? Okay. What do you mean? It drives me crazy. I don't understand why there's that limitation.
But I think that was part of my journey too, that the universe put me on, was for me to become obsessed with the mind, because a lot of what I do with people is to help. My friend said it best. She's like, you science the shit out of the woo-woo stuff because I help them understand. Like, it's like manifestation isn't magic. It's you're tapping into your mind and the energy around you. Like you're telling your mind what you want.
You're resetting the vibrational stage for a new path or a new opportunity or something that really is desirable for your inner core. It's beautiful, like really beautiful. But I think you're going to break some walls down and break some new barriers, which is really
and I hope so. Like that's what I want to do. I want to,
my friend. Oh, I think you will. And the time is right for it as well, So tell me more about what you do. So how do you work? We talked a little bit about it. I want people to know about how amazing you are. Cause I just think you're amazing. I really do.
So I either see people in person or like virtually like this. And the first thing I do with them is I have an intake form that I call a blueprinting form. Cause I just kind of want to see where they're at.
Of course. Yeah.
Because usually in like the first 5 minutes of talking to somebody, I know exactly what's keeping them stuck. Mm-hmm. You can hear it in their language patterns.
Yeah.
And so I like to say my role in somebody's journey is not to give you a whole bunch of more stuff to do. It's to help you reframe what already exists. Mm-hmm. So take the shit that's keeping you stuck and let's reframe it. I'm not going to be like, okay, here's all your homework. Here's all the workshop sheets you have to do. Here's all the stuff. You literally, like if I'm doing a hypnosis program with you, which doesn't happen during every session, but like I'm recording it, and your homework is literally listen to the audio program, because subconscious mind needs repetition. And so the more you listen to the audio program, things start to unravel and release and let go. Mm-hmm. It's like, honestly, if I could market this as magic and not get arrested, I probably would. Because that's what it feels like. And I went through it all. I went through all of the hypnosis. I went through all of the NLP. I remember having benefits like 2-3 sessions in and sitting there going, is this actually how this works? But again, for me, I've seen the quick transformation. I'm not after those for people. Mm-hmm. I want them to go deeper. I want them to start to listen to themselves. All my little empath clients out there, I want them to understand why they're feeling like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just want people to be them, like step into who you're actually supposed to be and stop living in fear and stop being a victim. That's what I help people do. I'm like, you're going to stop being a victim now. I had a conversation with somebody the other day and she's really stuck in her head. And I was like, did you believe in Santa Claus when you were little? She was like, yeah. I'm like, how old were you when you stopped believing in Santa Claus? She's like, I don't know, like 10. I'm like, okay, so for 10 years, you believed with all your heart that some fat man in a red suit broke into your house and left you presents once a year. You believed that. She's like, yeah. And I'm like, and then what happened? She's like, well, then I found out he wasn't real. And I'm like, and just like that, you changed your belief.
Because of what somebody said. Mm-hmm.
And she was like, what the fuck?
Right? Revelation! But
it's true. We're choosing the things we're creating.
Yeah. Which I think is really powerful.
Yeah.
Right? That's a really powerful statement that you're making there. If you understand you're in an automation, and things that you were taught are automatically talking to you and you don't realize it, some of them get buried in the subconscious reality and they become your conversation in your mind and you don't even realize that.
And it's fucked up.
It's really fucked up. And there's also, then when you realize it, which is I think what happens when people talk to you, there's another reality that's going on outside of that you can change it because you pull it out and go, well, this is what you're buying into that you didn't even know you're buying into. And like, just because you're buying into that, your whole electrical system, your being, your nervous system, all the parts of you are tuned in with, oh, that's what I should be doing. So they're firing off in accordance to that belief that you don't even know you have. They're firing off and you don't even know what's happening. And you're lost in something you don't even want, that you don't even know you have, because you don't even know when you adopted it and said yes to it, right? Because to me, beliefs are like just what you accept as true, whether you know it or not. You know what I mean? And then there's facts. Like the sky is blue, it's blue, but you can believe it's not blue if you want to, but it's blue. Like, you know what I mean? To us, it's blue. Maybe it's not really blue. I don't know.
But it's funny because I just realized one of the things I actually really do with people is I help them see the possibilities instead of the limitations.
Which is like going back, I mean, that's, the power of you and what I've seen, just knowing you a very short time. And it's very important that people understand the power of their choices and that we really are limitless, which is your show, the Limitless Life Show. And that we can actually, just from understanding that the first thing, which is so powerful, honestly, like it's like so powerful. You're believing things that you don't even know you're believing. Because I've been doing this work, I've been doing it too for years. And mine is definitely a spiritual take because I really care about what you're doing inside influencing your outside, but also how your soul matrix actually can influence you and help you release those beliefs as well. And being as whole as possible. And accepting wholeness as your possibility and your limitlessness. So that mind, that mind framework of like, you're just buying into shit you don't even know what you're buying into. Let me show you how easy it is for somebody to influence you at the age of 5 and 6 and 7, because that's like the impact of that, especially for an empath, because they're not like, this is what happened to me when I started unwiring all this. I was like, oh my God, not just did I see it and believe it with my head, but I'm like, I felt it energetically. So it imprinted even more on me and I didn't even know. So the alignment of the mind and the alignment of the body and the energy in your system, your actual like spiritual system. Oh my God, the power in those two things coming together and being comprehensive, people to get, shut the front door.
Well, and it's crazy to look back on my journey, like my life journey, and go, oh, I understand now why I went from super skinny to like 300 pounds. I understand, because if I look back at the timing of things, it's when things started to open up again. And then I would just shut them down because I was like, I don't know what this is. So it's.
And what's your greatest learning about that? Because I think it's important. I'll tell you why I'm asking, just to segue this.
There's so many.
But for me, it's really important to understand, like, you're a powerful, powerful empath. Okay. And period. That's a period on the end of that. Okay. I'm a powerful clairvoyant. difference. Okay.
Yeah.
So even though I've learned to use all the other gifts, like you're going to learn how to use them. You have a superpower. Everybody has a certain element that's very, very strong inside them. And a lot of empaths are extremely powerful, and physically they have responses to what they're doing, and doing that is pulling them out of alignment.
Yeah.
Pulling them away from, or, they're collecting energy debris. And this is, if we look at it in that framework now, and you say, well, this is what happened, and then I gained this, I became 300 pounds, what happened in that moment? And then we look at it from an energy perspective. First of all, you're going to help people through the roof as you comprehend this whole storyline, which is I'm going to be your number one fan about that. Because
I appreciate that.
and honestly, honey, I'll tell you why. My father died of obesity, literally, because he couldn't shake it. And my father was a powerful empath who didn't know it, didn't want to own it, wanted nothing to do with it, but carried the load of so many people on his body, and had to become this horrible personality to deal with it, and to reject everything. And I looked at him and I always felt like inside you is such an incredible man, but you've just hidden him, hiding, because you're so upset about everything you feel, sense, and know.
Yeah.
Right. So if we look at that from this framework, tell me about what you understand now about this weight.
It's interesting because one of the most important things I've learned over the past year or so is and I teach this to my clients now, I had to understand what I felt like.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I thought I had bipolar disorder, because one minute I'd be super happy, then I'd be angry, then I'd be sad, that I would have days where I just needed to sleep for 2 days.
Oh yeah.
And so really understanding, is this mine or is this somebody else's? I had to be able to differentiate that.
Totally.
And so I could do that, but now I've realized I was still pulling stuff in energetically, not realizing it, because my energy wanted to save them. So I get that now, but just knowing okay, is this mine? No. Okay, it's not mine. Understanding who I feel like, who I am, which is weird. And if you ask people, because I ask my clients all the time, I'm like, do you know what you feel like? And they're like, no.
That's a good question.
Because we don't. We're so out of touch with ourselves. It's so out of touch.
So you learned from, so you gained this 300 pounds, and you realized, okay, it's really because I don't have boundaries.
So, and that 300 pounds, the original 300 pounds, I didn't have a clue about any of that. I thought it was just because I was eating bonbons and whatever. But when I gained the 60 pounds back these last couple of years, now I understand it's because I don't have boundaries. Now, having said that,
amazing.
I also have to be mindful of what I'm eating. Obviously, if I'm shoving shit in my face, I'm going to gain weight.
Of course.
But
there's so much more to it than that for you.
Yeah.
Which I think is the message. That's the miracle in the message, is realizing how I'm tuning in with people in my work. And I really mean this. It's part of why I'm asking you to bring that vulnerability forward, is I know a lot of spiritual people who will listen, who are empaths, who don't realize they're literally collecting the debris from doing their work.
Yeah.
They think they're doing an amazing job, but they're just collecting so much debris because they don't know how to anchor, have energy boundaries, have personal boundaries, know when to say no, know when they're overwhelmed, listen to their body, listen to their being. They don't know how to do it, which is, again, rewiring the self-understanding that, right? That's what I'm sure you have taught many people how to do. Is there other tips that you would give them that you've learned, people who will listen to this?
The main thing is first of all, figure out what you feel like. And the second thing too is don't, and this was one of my themes, the whole self-sacrifice thing, right?
Yeah.
Don't give up who you are to try to help the other people, or don't give up who you are to make sure you're not causing waves, or don't give up who you are to stay small. I think as empaths and people with gifts, we get really weird about boundaries.
We do.
Because when you realize you can help people, all you want to do is help people.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
guess what? Not everybody wants to be helped.
Yeah. And also, like, you're a person who needs help too, right?
Yeah,
We
we need
are
to
people who need
recharge.
help too. Like, that's the thing, to make sure that we're healthy and well and whole in our vibration, and that we're not like, taking care so much because it feels good that we're doing it at our own sacrificing our own well-being. I think
And
that's
like find something that you just love. Like for me, every morning I'm on the trails with my dog. I need to talk to the trees. I
love
need
it.
to talk to the plants. That's how I ground myself in the morning. But now I understand how to use that in an even more powerful way.
Mm,
Whereas before I would just go out because nature is like one of the highest frequencies, right? I'd be like, oh, I'm clearing myself off in nature, but I wasn't grounding myself.
mm-hmm.
And so now that practice for me is even like more powerful. So find something and clear the shit off of you at the end of the day. If you work with clients, you need to clear them off of you
Mm-hmm.
and understand that there's some that just like to stick to you. And
Yeah.
that's what this was. I was like, oh,
For
okay.
sure.
I get it
And
now.
also, being an over sacrificer and an over giver is a beautiful gift, but not when you over give of yourself to the point that you're depleted and you're losing touch with who you are. Like, that point you mentioned, like, no, like, stay with yourself. Like, remember, like, you're a person. Come on.
Yeah. And that's what happened in the beginning. I just wanted to help everybody.
Yeah.
I would work like 10, 11 hours a day with
Right.
clients, and I was just going. And when I was working full time, I was working full time for a corporation and then working full time for myself, trying to build a business. And I just give, 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 give. And it's funny because if you would have asked me if I was a people pleaser, I would have been no, but I
Like,
was an
yes, I
overgiver.
am. Yes, I am. Oh, so
So
good.
yeah, now I've even had to in the past month and a bit just kind of look at my schedule and go, you know what? I'm most comfortable when I'm only seeing about 5 people a day. Like
Yep.
5 is my max.
Yep.
Any more than 5, I'm completely drained
Mm,
and I need to sleep for like a week. And that's just not possible because I see people every day. So
yeah. But that's a really good and healthy boundary and question to ask yourself. Like, what do I need?
yeah,
I matter. What do I need? How am I going to do this? That's so good. And honoring your own value, self-value and self-care. So, so important. Well, I can't wait to watch where you take all this. I just want you to know. And I'm so honored that I can be a part of it.
I'm so honored to have you as a part of it. And honestly, so honored that you just like validated everything for me. And I was like, oh shit, if she's saying this, then it is true.
Yeah, we had really fun conversations, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot more. Just so, so, so cool. So I want to talk about, like, how can people find you? Like, tell me about, how do they reach you?
The easiest way to find me is actually on Instagram, and it's _ Brenda Johnston. I also have the Limitless Life podcast, which you can listen
Yeah.
to. But right after you finish listening to this one, then you go listen to the Limitless Life podcast. Those are the 2 best ways to find
Yeah.
me.
Okay.
It's funny, I used to have this belief that I needed to have a website and I needed to do all these things. And I had one for a long time, but I took it down. I need to build a new one. I'm like, nah.
Right.
And I'm most active on Instagram. So if you want to hang out with me, that's where you're going to find me.
Oh, that's amazing. And that's like, if I knew how to use it, I'll be doing that too. So
But you will know how to use it because we're teaching you how to use it.
that's true. That's true. And I'm really excited. So they can work, you do one-on-one clients.
Yeah.
You do some coaching, the podcast is definitely ways for people to, hear about what you're up to. And you probably highlight lots of good conversations that your clients and mine too need to hear, which is really fun.
Well,
And
I'm starting to more now. I'm
right?
stopping dipping the toe and I'm just jumping in now.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, and what an honor and an example of being willing to say yes to whatever comes forward. You know what I
Well,
mean?
because as I've learned, if I don't say yes, they're just going to keep pushing me in mud puddles. So
Nice. It's so nice to see that, and that you're not resisting to the point where you're harming yourself, which so many people in the world are doing. And I know that's why you're doing the work you do, and myself included. Like, just want you to know that you don't have to do it the way somebody taught you to do it. That's really not in alignment with who you are. Or
yeah,
it's just totally against your soul purpose, as an example. It's really, if you feel uncomfortable about what you're doing, listen to that,
yeah.
right? Just listen to that. If you're miserable, that's a message, like literally, like just listen.
Yeah, if you wake up every day and you're dreading going to work, or you call in sick more than you actually go to work, like that's a problem.
Yeah, and the other things too, if you notice yourself gossiping, being very negative mentally, just really being unhappy,
Getting sucked into that vortex of negativity. Ugh.
yeah, do something about it. Reach out to my friend Brenda here if you need some help. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Reach out to me.
Connect with us.
Us. We're amazing.
Kind of are.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I'm really happy. I'm excited to hear the feedback that people get. I'm sure they got a lot of it, and especially the vulnerability around really hard conversations. You've been really like badass brave.
I feel like that's because we let some shit go when I saw you last weekend.
To me,
I don't think this conversation would have happened.
So good. Such an honor and such a beautiful moment to just flow together, and you allowed me in your space, and I was able to give you some healing, some transformation just from simple conversations of vulnerability together. That was such an honor, and like that this conversation as a result of that even makes me happier,
I
and
know.
we have so much more that we're gonna do, right?
So, oh my God. And like there's so many things we didn't even talk about,
right?
Like my new friend who showed up. That's a whole
right? We're gonna have a whole show about that. Well, we're not going to tell you what it is, but we will say that we're going to do a whole show about that.
We actually should, because that was weird in itself.
Yeah, and maybe we'll have a couple of other guests on, and I'll run through, because that could be I think that's really important for people to learn about all the guides they have and how they're showing up and how they really want to serve and what that means. And you could be the can opener for that. That was the best. The best was like, yeah, this is what happened. Yeah, I look like this, and this is what, and you're like, what? Did you know that? Well, it's happening now. They're talking now.
That was crazy. But also the fact that you also knew that he was really good looking, because I was like, he's really attractive.
Yeah, just to tell you guys, we're talking about her spirit guides, which was really just a gorgeous experience. We have a lot of help from the spiritual world that, there's so much love and kindness and goodness and richness coming to us from that source. And it's important to know what it is. So we'll definitely have another show about that. But
that actually would be a whole show in itself.
Right? I think so too.
I love it.
So
well, thank you so much for having me and like pulling me out of the spiritual closet. You're like, okay, we're coming out now. It's like video.
Let's do it.
Like I'm not comfortable on video, and Lisa's literally like, okay, so we're videoing this today. So just, I was like, okay.
This is what we're doing. Get used to this, because we're going to have a lot more fun as we move forward, for sure.
It's true.
And your heart's beautiful. Your energy's gorgeous. I'm thrilled that this vulnerability, this is like so important to me, to be able to just go, hey, this is how I live my life and what happened to me, and here's where I'm at today. That gives such a blessing to others who are there.
I feel like every time I tell a piece of my story, somebody, even if it's just one person, are like, oh my God, that's me.
Exactly.
And I know how crazy I felt. So if I can help other people not feel crazy.
So good, right?
I'm all about that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We'll put all the links so y'all know.
Yes.
You'll be able to find her. It'll be really, really simple. Until the next show, we'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.